Coming to you live from suburbia in a men's restroom, this is Thicc Man Inc.
And we are back here with your host, top 100 Madden player Tristan Kilgannon, and ESPN featured athlete Isaiah Ashley. This week we'll be reacting to the recent Wildcard games, as well as taking a look forward into the Divisional rounds. The timestamps are in the description if you want to take a look at a specific game. As always, subscribe. Like the video, leave a comment down below what your thoughts on the games were. And Isaiah, start us off with the Titans-Patriots game.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the New England Patriots have lost a playoff game. Quick, break out the champagne and begin celebrating the end of the dynasty. But before we get into why the celebration for the Patriots dynasty being over may be a tad premature, let's talk about the game a little bit. I'm going to start by addressing Tom Brady and his wide receivers. Brady targeted wide receivers 21 times. He completed 7 of those passes. Keanu Harry, I don't know how to say that name.
Keanu Neal, come on.
Say that again because he's going to
become cultured
after the end of this year. I'll never have to say it again. Caught 2 of his 7 passes.
Wait, Keanu Neal is not even playing right now because he tore his ACL and he plays for the Falcons.
Harry. I was wrong.
Oh, N'Keal Harry.
How is that N'Keal? That's with a K. It makes no sense that it's N'Keal when it starts with a K and then it's Neal. Anyway,
I don't know what to tell you,
the
Isaiah.
wide receiver, who may or may not be known as K. Neal or N'Keal Harry, caught 2 of his 7 targets, had multiple drops. Sanu caught 1 of his 5 targets and was part of the game icing play when he got bullied by a defensive back, leading to a pick 6. And Julian Edelman couldn't do anything except odd jet sweep, and also had a drop on a must-catch ball, which would have converted for a first down and kept the drive alive. On the other hand, when Brady targeted tight ends and running backs, he was 13 for 14. Crazy, huh? I'm sure glad that position coach isn't leading my team now. But wide receivers really struggled throughout the night. The O-line, while not as bad as it normally is, did struggle. Brady was facing pressure. Most of the night was able to get the ball out, get it on the ground. Can't be too mad at them. And Brady did have a slightly underwhelming night, but when you look what's around him, what are you going to do? But moving on. Titans. Go ahead.
Talking about the Titans, let's take a look at the team that actually won the football game, the team that showed up and performed. Derrick Henry is an American hero. He's an American hero, Isaiah.
Does anyone outside of Tennessee actually like the Titans except when they're beating the Patriots?
It doesn't matter. Derrick Henry put the Titans on his back, 34 carries, 182 yards, and a touchdown. He did this for every fan who hates the Patriots. I was saying to myself, if the Patriots are having to run trick plays, the Julian Edelman end-around nonsense that the commentators are orgasming over in order to beat the 9-7 Titans, and Derrick Henry was pounding the rock like he was, there was no way they were going to win the game. And I was already thinking this in the second quarter. Tom Brady, as you're saying, did not have the best night, had a 59 quarterback rating, and the Patriots offense also then had a less than 100 yards rushing, something that may have shown how weak the Pats receiving core is, as you're saying, is the Titans had 7 pass deflections, unable to get separation in space. They kept him locked in a small room with
locked him up, threw the key away. They were stuck in the closet. They were getting pounded by other men all night.
Basically.
But Derrick Henry looked like a man amongst boys. He was running people over. He was hitting people in the chest. 5.4 yards a carry, and he wasn't getting tired. I am very
on 34 carries.
On 34 carries. Over 200 all-purpose yards. I was very impressed by him. I think he is the best rusher in the league. Not running back, mind you. There are people who do other things, and he does not really catch the ball. He had 1 catch. But he is the best rusher in the league, in my opinion.
Well, keep in mind, he's had like a catch for over 70 yards one time for a touchdown. So he can't catch a ball out of the backfield.
One time.
He's done it a few times.
He had 1 reception.
I'll link you his receiving highlight tape. Yeah. All right, whatever. Bottom line is the Patriots shit the bed. The Patriots shit the bed. Derrick Henry showed everyone who doesn't watch, because no one watches Titans games, that the Titans actually have a running game, and he's possibly one of the best rushers in the NFL, like Isaiah said. And moving on to their next opponent, the Ravens. This is a game where the Ravens are completely superior in everything. They have Lamar Jackson, who's a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill, who was traded by the Dolphins, one of the worst teams in the NFL. And then you also have a defense which is superior in every way to the Titans defense. And since they're both, mainly rushing teams, if you want to look at their rush defenses, the Ravens give up 93 rushing yards a game, near the top of the league, and the Titans give up 104 rushing yards a game, somewhere around the middle of the league. The team that has a statistically better offense and the statistically better defense and went 14-2 during the regular season is 1,000,000% going to win this football game.
Well, you're wrong about a few things. First off, I don't think they're better at every position, but I'll get into that later. But did I think the Titans had the Patriots? Sure, I thought it was a small shot. I was a little bit wrong. The Titans won, yes. You just listed off is correct. The Ravens are a better team from top to bottom. The one advantage they have a slightly better offensive line, in my opinion, for the run game, and a better running back. And a better punter, but I'll get to him later. But that is how they could win. Will they win?
For the brand, baby.
No, for the brand. The Ravens are sending 12 people to the Pro Bowl. That means half their starters and Justin Tucker are viewed as some of the best players in the NFL. There's just no way that the Titans can compete with that outside of their run game. Every other position group is dwarfed. Quarterback, dwarfed. Secondary, no comparison. Defensive line, the Titans generate a pass rush against the Patriots, who have a suspect offensive line. Do you think they're going to be able to get pressure on Lamar Jackson, one of the fastest players in the league, who is also playing quarterback, with a 300-pound pullback in the backfield blocking for him? No, it's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to do anything to them to slow down the offense, and I don't think you can keep up.
Who's 300 pounds?
Their fullback is a massive human being.
Patrick Ricard is not 300 pounds.
Hey, man, he blocks like it. We will do some research and tell it.
He's 284 pounds, I'll have you know.
Oh, excuse me, 16 pounds. He's a 300.
That's a lot of weight.
Back. It is a lot of weight. I wouldn't want to run into that if I was
he also plays D-tackle.
Getting chipped. I wouldn't want to have to deal with that. But we're getting off topic. Do I think the Titans can beat the Ravens? Honestly, no. Do I want to give a shout out to a very special member of the Tennessee Titans? Yes. Yes, I do. Brett Kern might be the best punter in the NFL. He might be the Titans' best player. He pinned the Patriots back deep every time he touched the ball, including putting him on the 1-yard line. That is amazing. I don't know if McAfee in his prime. I don't know if he could do that in a playoff game. Truly a phenomenal player.
Oh, that's all you have to say about him?
What? Me singing his praises? Yes, that's all I have to say. That would be one of those long awkward pauses.
He must not be that. He must not be that phenomenal if that's all you got to say about him. All right.
I compare him to the best punter in the past 20 years. I don't know what else I can say.
Whatever. So moving on to another wild card game, a game that I was sadly extremely wrong about. The Vikings took on the Saints and defeated them in New Orleans. And now going into this game, I thought the Saints would dominate on every part of the field, something that Isaiah didn't notice I made a huge mistake on in the last podcast, is that I said they had Marcus Davenport. And Marcus Davenport was out for the year, and I believe around week 14. So that was also may have caused me to be very wrong, and I should have done more research.
I ignored a lot.
I undervalued. I undervalued Kirk Cousins playing at 1 p.m. rather than playing in prime time. He delivered 96 quarterback rating, and he even made a huge throw in overtime on the line to bring his team down to the goal line to Adam Thielen. So I'm happy for Isaiah. I'm happy for the Vikings. Unfortunate because my playoff bracket was looking pretty good up until then. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on the game?
For the third year in a row, the New Orleans Saints have been eliminated from the playoffs on the last play of the game. I'd feel bad for the Saints if I'm not a fan of the team, which has lost 4 Super Bowls and blown countless chances of getting to them. But I digress. For Mike Zimmer putting 4 defensive ends on the field at once to rush Drew Brees. Michael Thomas was about as much of a non-factor as Michael Thomas could be. 7 catches, 70 yards. Good day for most receivers, not a good day for him. He was shut down. Despite this, the heroics of Taysom Hill led the Saints to drag this game to overtime. Then we saw the true power of 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. Cousins stormed down the field with gusto, making a series of spectacular throws and amazing handoffs, the biggest of which being a dagger to Adam Thielen to put the Vikings on the 2-yard line. Cousins would then seal the deal with a highly contested pass to Kyle Rudolph, who got up and got the ball over the Saints defender. The Saints fans will cry and say it was offensive pass interference and a push-off. To that I say, it doesn't matter. The Saints cornerbacks have to get better. And they should have known this would happen after complaining and arguing with the referees all year, an act which truly angered the football gods and caused them to smite the Saints for the third straight year.
It's quite comical. And talking more about the Saints, their offense simply did not show up. I was watching the game, and they made a few great plays. Michael Thomas made a few great catches. However, but they were unable to sustain it. The Vikings kept getting pressure on Breeze. The Vikings sacked Breeze 3 times, hit him 7 times, and had 4 passes defended. They kept tight coverage, kept the pressure on, and Breeze was unable to make enough plays to win the game. And then you have Taysom Hill, who had the longest rushing play, second longest receiving play, and longest passing play. The man went off in is a third string quarterback, basically second string. I don't know what he is. His
utility role.
And then
no one knows what Taysom Hill is.
And then you also have Alvin Kamara, who is pitiful, 7 rushes for 21 yards. That is absolutely pathetic. They were unable to get the running game going, and no one is really talking about that. They're just talking. Saints fans are mad that there was a push-off. Meanwhile, their running game did not show up, and their running back did not show up.
There's also Drew Brees throwing into double coverage late and getting the ball easily picked off, but let's ignore that and be mad about a possible penalty.
Which isn't even really a penalty. There's nothing there to make things any different. But Isaiah, we talked about enough about the Saints. If there's any Saints fans, let us know how happy you are.
What
do you think about... How do you think the Vikings are going to do against the 49ers this weekend?
Well, the Minnesota Vikings are playing the 49ers at 4:35 p.m. on a Saturday. That is not prime time. Pair that with the Vikings defense getting pressure on one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, the Saints, and their 2 all-pro linebackers who have the ability to shadow Kittle all game. I think the Vikings have the advantage in the battle between the defense and the 49ers offense. The real question is, can they score? And after analyzing hours of San Francisco football 49ers losses and their many close games, I've spotted 2 weaknesses. Teams that can get the ball out quick and avoid that monstrous pass rush, primarily through checkdowns and slant routes to the tight end, slot receiver, and running back, have an advantage. The Vikings have very good tight ends, very good running backs, and very good slot receivers. And the other big issue, if teams have 2 big-time wide receivers who are capable of running away from the self-proclaimed best cornerback in the game, the Vikings can utilize them to score. Their secondary is not phenomenal, excluding Richard Sherman, in my opinion. The Vikings have both these 2 factors.
The Vikings have a very suspect secondary also. The roads are indeed open over there in Minnesota.
Well, you say that, but Xavier Rhodes had 1 bad play and played fairly tight coverage on Michael Thomas and Deontay Harris, holding him to only 1 catch all game. Granted, that 1 catch was 50 yards, but again, that was just 1 bad play.
Rhodes has been known to get fucking his doors busted off down the field, whatever you want to call it.
And man, it only happened once, and the Vikings were still able to compensate for that. But I think the Vikings are capable of moving on past this game and for the second time in 3 years, advancing to the NFC Championship game.
I think the Vikings have a very good chance at winning, better than I initially thought. However, I am still going to have to go with the 49ers. The 49ers have a better, honestly, their defensive front's probably about equal. The Vikings with Linval Joseph, Danielle Hunter, who's a right end. Everson Griffin. They're probably even across both front sevens. But the 49ers have much better secondary, as you elaborated on. And they also have the best tight end in the league on offense. And you got Jimmy G running the show. I think, and the Vikings have also lost 9 of their last 10 games in the 49ers stadium. Not looking good heading into a playoff game. Hold on,
how far back did you have to go to figure that stat?
I didn't have to go back at all. I saw it in an article.
That has got to be over about 20 years because the Vikings and 49ers do not play each other, but continue.
But they've lost 9 of their last 10 at 49ers Stadium. Not a good trend if you think they're going to win this game.
In use, which is a stadium I'd imagine most of those losses took place in. They've got a new stadium, which means a new era of Minnesota football in San Francisco.
The Vikings, they haven't won a road playoff game in 15 years, I believe. So if they're going to go,
Tristan, what happened last Sunday?
No, they just did. They just did. But besides that game, they hadn't won a road playoff game in the last 15 years. So how long are they going to be able to buck that trend?
They
especially when they've lost 9 of their last. No, how long are they going to be able to avoid that? I should say they're bound to lose on the road again very soon.
You are using some fluky logic to discredit the Vikings, my friend. You have an argument.
Oh, look who's talking. Can we get that irony alert sign?
Phenomenal the San Francisco defense is. How you think that they can burn the secondary. Those are fine arguments. I could deal with that. But stuff like that, come on now, son. But that's our opinion on the NFC matchup between the Vikings and the 49ers. And we are now going to transition into the Bills-Texans game. And I'll start off by addressing this. I was wrong. I think I was wrong for a few reasons. But my big takeaway from this game is
wrong.
Josh Allen is fun to watch. He is an incredibly entertaining player. He was able to do what Tom Brady lead the Philly special for an easy touchdown. He even sort of broke a tackle on his way to the end zone. Had some big runs. Struggled a little bit down the stretch, but hey, that is what it is. Fun game to watch.
Josh Allen was horrendous. What are you talking about? He had a 69 quarterback rating, a 41 QBR. He was seen doing backwards laterals near the end of the game
hold on.
reason.
I'm going to address that. before you keep
running.
I'm going
running backwards for like a 15-yard sack that almost threw the game away, and then the Texans handed it back to him.
That lateral was a very smart play. It saved a timeout. The ball went out of bounds. That was a smart play. That was a high IQ play. And
if you think that is high IQ, you were. I don't even know what to say to you. Well, it saved him a timeout, but then also later that drive, he runs 15 yards backwards, gets sacked. They lose the possession, but then the Texans just hand them back another chance. The game should have been over at that point. So there were 2 times there where he could have thrown the game away.
You say he runs backwards. You act like
he ran backwards 15 yards and gets sacked.
Clean. 2 defensive ends clean on a 4th and long. Excuse me, on a 3rd and long. On a
Why don't you just admit when you're wrong, Isaiah?
I'm sorry you didn't watch the game. I really am. I wish you did.
I did watch the game.
But you act like he was in a must-make-a-play situation before turning the ball back over. The guys came clean. He had to try and make a play. He messed up. Also, before he keep going about how horrible a game he had more yards than Watson. In fact, I think he had the same number of touchdowns as Watson. Watson in a second. I'm going to address that blindside block, which cost.
No, Watson had much a better game. He's 20 for 25, 247 yards passing, 1 passing touchdown, adding 55 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown on the ground.
What you're saying is
so he was much more efficient, didn't make dumb plays.
Rushing yards. Is that what you're saying?
He was 20 for 25. He did not. Well, he might. I don't know Josh Allen's passing yard stats. Why don't you elaborate on what they are?
So what you're saying is he didn't have as many yards on the ground or in the air. But I thought it was supposed to be there. But okay.
He had 5 incompletions and threw off his back foot to set up the game-winning play.
Oh, are we going to talk about
get it with Bills in his face?
We had to talk about how
much better than Josh Allen did. Clearly, he wasn't running
Josh Allen
15 backward.
Was getting massacred in the pocket, and you're just acting like, oh, we decide, hey, I'm going to get the ball and take a 20-yard drop back. That's not what happened. You are misleading our dear viewers.
And Deshaun Watson threw 2 Bills off of him because he's a fucking beast, unlike Josh Allen. Josh Allen wilted and took the sack, and then he throws a laser downfield, and the Texans win the football game.
You realize that Josh Allen trucked someone, which is something Deshaun Watson is physically incapable of doing. But we've gotten –
I don't know. 2 people missed the tackle.
Yes, and Eli Manning broke a tackle like that once. I don't think that means get off defenders and run them over. But going back
to what will run you over and your whole family.
I will humiliate Eli Manning if he ever comes near me. But I want to talk about the blindside block, which cost the Bills the game. I think it is a suspect block. I am not disagreeing with the rule. To the rule, it was the correct play for the official to throw the flag. That being said, I think it is horrendous, a travesty, that a block like that, which had no real impact on the play, because I don't think the defender was going to be able to get back in it, where he hits the front part of the shoulder pad can be considered a blindside block just because he is not being looked at. I think that could lead to a rule change. That was that bad.
I personally haven't gone back and watched the play, so I don't have much to add on to that. You're done with your thoughts on the game?
I'll real quickly say this. Deshaun Watson, despite what I just said, he did have a fairly impressive game. That play to end it was very impressive. I still think the people who say he's the MJ of football have a high single to low double-digit IQ. I think a more applicable comparison would be DeMarcus Cousins, an athletic specimen who comes up big when the game is on the line. But we can transition to the next round of playoffs now.
I think this game is solely the Chiefs to lose. They've one of the best offenses in the NFL, lost their early season matchup with the Texans, but they've won their last 6 games. The defense looks improved. And when they have the better receiving core, better running backs, better QB, and the Texans have one of the worst defenses in the NFL as far as yards given up, the Chiefs are going to be able to outscore them. The Chiefs sit at the top third of teams for points given up, while the Texans sit at the bottom of the league. Both teams have explosive quarterbacks, but when one defense is much worse than the other, I think the team with the better quarterback and better offense is going to win the football game.
Well, I have similar thoughts to you. Looking into the Chiefs-Texans game, this is going to be a high-scoring affair between two weak defensive sides. The Chiefs have an inconsistent pass rush, which is being beautifully covered up by Hatcher and Chris Jones, who is the only bright spot in their front seven, in my opinion, of course, while the Texans have a secondary full of first-round busts. All in all, this has some real potential for a laser light show. Easily the highest-scoring playoff game so far. I'll pick the Chiefs to win due to a superior offense and better coaching, but it should be a pretty entertaining for you filthy casuals at home who like a lot of points. Speaking of filthy casuals, back to you, Trey.
Are you calling me a filth?
That's indeed what I said.
Well, moving on to the NFC, a team from the NFC. The Seahawks played the Eagles, and as a Giants fan, it's always nice to watch the Eagles lose, and lose they did. They lost their starting quarterback to a concussion, forcing 90-year-old Josh McCown to cook up some dots. They also had reserves, and they somehow were able to keep it close. The Eagles were able to keep the game close, and they locked up the 4th most dangerous rushing attack in the NFL. Travis Homer and Marshawn Lynch combined for a whopping 17 carries and 19 rushing yards. That is a little over 1 yard a carry. Not something you like to see.
Hold on.
So
hold on. Their entire running back core is in the hospital. The 4th best rushing attack in the NFL left the building on a stretcher.
Well, that is true, but even though they should still be able to produce when given who they have in the backfield, they shouldn't be having 17 carries for 19 yards rush.
Well,
you're gonna disagree with me on that. That's pretty fucking sorry.
Okay, I'd say this: Marshawn Lynch clearly should have stayed in the retirement home, and the quarterback did outrush the entire rest of the team. But I get what you're saying. I don't think the running attacks are that good, but come on now. But that's not what we really want to address. The play of the game occurred early on when a very large man, Jadeveon Clowney, fell on Carson Wentz's head, giving him a concussion and forcing the immortal legend known as Josh McCown to enter the game. And I hate to break this to you, ladies and gentlemen, that hit was – I don't even know if that qualifies as a hit. It's hard to control how you're falling when you weigh 300 pounds. Trust me, I've had experience with both falling and being around 300 pounds. But there's nothing Clowney could really do there. It sucks that Wentz is hurt, but at the same time, congratulations. He made it to the playoffs for once before getting hurt. You had to have seen this coming, Eagles fans. Come on now.
I think they were very prepared for it. They probably were just happy to be in the playoffs at this point. They're happy the Cowboys fucking crumbled and now are sitting with a new coach. But looking ahead, the Seahawks are going to be taking on the Packers, and I still expect the Seahawks to win. The Packers had a really good record, but they did not exactly play a ton of world beaters this season. And by Aaron Rodgers standards, I talked about this last week or the week before, he's had a disappointing year for his standards. And the Packers defense has slowed down as the years have gone on. I think Russell Wilson, being an MVP candidate this year, is going to be able to tear up the Packers defense and outscore them in the end.
Well, here's the thing. While Russell Wilson owns Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, I don't see it happening this year. Mainly due to the fact that this is an Aaron Jones-led team. Major difference there. Big difference. Pair that with the Packers defense. I know you said it's slowing down, but it's serviceable as opposed to the dumpster fire it usually is. I think they edge out the two-man show that is Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner. And you pair that pair with another pair in the fact that the Packers have home field advantage in Lambeau Field, and I'm going to pick the Packers all day to win. I can't force myself to pick against them no matter how much I want to.
If you're a Vikings fan, though, you probably want
I
the
would
Packers
love
to
the
lose,
Packers to
especially.
lose.
I think the Vikings have a much better chance at beating the Seahawks than they do the Packers.
Disagree with you on that, but that's a later topic of discussion. That's the NFC Championship video we'll get into.
Well, we will come back to you guys with the reactions to the games we just predicted next week. Appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Leave a like. Let us know what you thought. We'll see you next time.
One more thing before we go. I'd like to amend a prediction. I said Tristan will be crying after the Patriots beat the Chiefs. I now think he's going to be crying on January 14th. See you, viewers.
Why? Because it's my birthday?
No, because Jason Garrett will be hired.